Hello everyone, Graves for Sale here, with a build for my favorite ship, the Python. This is a very aggressive and tough ship, with surprising maneuverability for a nearly 900-ton vessel. This is a very tight power fit, so you'll need to have maxed out power grid in order to run everything at once. Even then, you'll have to do some power management with the frameshift systems, but we'll get to that later. The first thing to know about the Python is that most of the weapon systems are on the top of the craft. This makes the ship fairly straightforward to fly, as you only need to keep the enemies in front of you or above you in order to keep doing damage. Never let the enemies below your craft, as you only have one hardpoint down there, and in this case it's a fixed plasma accelerator. But for now, let's start with the weapon systems. I like to use as few ammo-using modules as possible so I can stay ratting longer. To that end, I run 2 gimbaled beam lasers on the top of the craft, and 1 plasma accelerator on the bottom of the craft, as I don't expose this side of the ship very often anyway. For my 2 medium slots, I like to run pulse laser turrets to deal with eagles and vipers and other craft that I can't necessarily outturn all the time. For my utility slots, I go with a mainly defensive configuration of 2 shield boosters, A-class, 1 electronic countermeasure, and then for ratting purposes, I like to run a Class C kill warrant scanner, as it's the largest one that I can fit in the current power configuration. Now, onto the internal systems. You can use whatever bulkhead class you like. I just don't have money for extra armor at the moment. Power grid has to be at least a B class, but A is preferred as you can't run both shield cell banks at the same time with a B class power plant. I like to run with Class C thrusters as it gives me just that little edge in maneuverability. It doesn't increase the top speed a whole lot, but you'll notice the maneuverability. You pretty much have to run with an A-class frameshift drive, otherwise you aren't going to make it past 15 light years jump distance. Life support, I just keep that at E because I've only run into one situation where the canopy has even come close to breaking on this craft. Power distributor for this configuration pretty much has to be an A class, otherwise you're going to burn out your energy really, really quickly. The sensors, I like to run a C class sensor suite because I like to have that little extra edge in view distance. It's not necessary, but I like it. Fuel tank, standard 32-ton fuel capacity. Now, onto the shield generator, which I opted to join Aisling Duval as my first galactic power so that I was able to grab the prismatic shield generator. This beast uses 2.17 more megawatts in power usage to operate, and it's also 40 tons heavier, double the weight. But 40 tons really doesn't mean a lot to this craft. If you don't have Aisling Duval as your galactic power, the standard 6A will work just fine. You'll be about 100 megajoules less in your total shield capacity, but that's not too bad. Now, in order to regen these shields, I've opted to run 2 6A shield cell banks. You need to run them in series in order to regen all of your shields, otherwise you'll regen only about 40%. Now for the rest of the internal compartments, you can basically put whatever you want. I have cargo racks, a fuel scoop, and a frameshift interdictor. The fuel scoop is 5D just to decrease the amount of time I actually spend scooping, and I've got a 2C frameshift interdictor just to do some basic power play stuff. But when you run this ship and for power play and interdict people regularly, you end up incurring a good bit of money in damages to your hull when you drop out. Now, you may have noticed your shields turning off at one point during the creation of this craft. That's because you have exceeded your normal power grid usage. Now it's time to actually set up your frameshift power systems to turn off. Now, if you don't know how to do this, back out to your main screen. Press 4 on the keyboard or whatever brings you to your status menu. Go over to your modules, and then we can configure the power situations by setting the priority. The priority determines when these modules turn off, and the higher the priority number, the earlier they turn off. So you want to set your frame shift systems to turn off first. So your frame shift interdictor, your fuel scoop, your frame shift drive, and in this case also your cargo hatch will turn off before you turn off any of your combat modules or your life support. Now onto some gameplay to show you how the ship actually operates.
Scan detected. Under attack. Scan detected.
This first engagement tests the shields this thing has. It takes 2 large plasma shots as well as some medium autocannon fire, and is only reduced to about 45 to 50% shields. This is nowhere near needing a shield cell bank at this point, so I wait. He is unable to break my contact, so I lay into his power plant with only the multi-cannon turrets to worry about. The end of the fight comes and I'm at about 30% shields. This would be a great time to use your shield cell banks if you're using 6B cell banks, so you can have your shields full by the next fight. This is about the time I usually start thinking about running my 6A shield cell banks. But optimum is when you're at about 20% shields, so I wait until I can get into another fight before popping it, so that I can get the maximum regen out of it.
Under attack. Target shields offline.
Anything with a vulnerable power plant is easy, so this dropship dies pretty fast.
Scan detected.
Skip forward a bit to a ship that this Python has a little bit of trouble with, the Vulture. These guys generally have up to 500 shields, and almost the maneuverability of an Eagle.
Taking heat damage.
Keeping your distance around 1 kilometer gives you the ability to out-turn him and get some shots in. It is, however, difficult to hit the Vulture with a plasma charge due to the ship's agility, so you have to rely on your lasers and turrets to break the 500 shields. This can take some time. Once you break the Vulture's shields, though, the armor is usually pretty thin.
Target shields offline.
The Python is well suited to high-intensity belts best spawns and can run them for extended periods. I make a good 5 mil per run regularly and see up to 10 mil runs if I get the right opportunity. For all those who want to see the fit shown in this video, I will leave a link in the description below, as well as the optimum fit, which includes an advanced plasma accelerator if you have access to that module as well. Hope you enjoyed the ship fitting spotlight. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit the like button at the bottom, it really helps the channel out. And we'll see you next time on Game Gravy.